Hello there, everyone. Well, everyone loves taking pictures. The irony is that I'm using a camera that I prefer not to use to make a video about cameras that I really enjoy using. But we'll get to that. This video is about using vintage lenses on a micro four thirds mirrorless camera. And this is what I'm talking about. This is a micro four thirds camera. It's a mirrorless camera, meaning that there's no mirror that has to reflect onto a lens or onto a sensor. In a lot of the DSLR cameras, they're fairly larger, and that's because of that mirror. Now this is my baby. I love this camera. This camera has been with me for, I want to say I got it in about 2013. So I've been using this camera to make YouTube videos for about 5 years. Now, in full disclosure, the body of this camera died last year. I used it for about 4 years, and it stopped turning on. So I bought a new body for about 125 bucks. The lens that goes with it is about 250 bucks. Now, this is a detachable lens, which is the standard lens that comes with this camera. And it's a lumix vario lens, 42mm. It's a wonderful lens. And since it goes on a digital camera, the beauty is that it has the sensors on there. And those sensors allow the camera to autofocus. And on a mirrorless camera, as you can see, the sensor is right there. Now, this lens by itself is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But a lot of folks are curious as to whether or not they can use their vintage lenses on their cameras. And you absolutely can. Now, I have a Minolta camera lens right here. This is a Rocore lens. It's a 45mm Rocore lens from Minolta. You can pick these up just about anywhere. Pretty cheap, maybe 20 bucks. Now, in order to use this, you have to have an adapter. This is the adapter for this particular lens. You can get adapters for any type of vintage lens to fit any micro four thirds camera. So it's a matter of locating them. Now, the one thing that this changes is the depth of field. Now, first to let you know, I am not a photographer, a professional photographer that understands all the f-stop and particulars about it. I have taken thousands of pictures, and I've made over 4,000 videos for YouTube, and that doesn't include the probably 10,000 videos that I've made on my own for my family or whatnot. I understand photography, and I know what looks good, and this is where it gets fun. This particular lens that comes with it is an autofocus lens, and it's a great lens, but there's no character to it. And I feel like we are going kind of retro in the sense that people are tired of perfection. And it sounds ridiculous saying it. There's too much perfection in that lens. That sensor can accommodate for any differential in light. It can adjust every part of the field. It can autofocus everything. And it's like most cell phones. They say you can walk around, you can do phenomenal photography using the filters or just plain photography on an iPhone or an Android. And in fact, I completely agree with that. You know, the old phone that I had, the one I have here, which is a Samsung Galaxy S6, it's an older one, takes phenomenal photographs. But I had this old, what was it? It was an M8. I can't remember which company made it. HTC M8. That thing had crazy clear photos in any light. And a person may think, why would I even want a bulky ass camera with all these lenses if I don't need one? And I say, well, that's where it comes down to nostalgia. That's where it comes down to character. When you spend more time taking a photograph, you revere those photographs. And when we go back to the old 70s, 60s, you know, when you had 12 to 24 exposures on a roll of film, You were cautious about what pictures you took. And I remember growing up that way. I had a 110 camera. That was my first camera. And you might have 24 to 36 exposures. And I could never afford a good camera. And as time went on, I remember a lot of the kids had high 8 video cameras, or later video, DV video, you know, or mini tapes, DVR, not DVR, but I have several different types of cameras, but let me just start with this one right here, which is a Sony Mavica. It's hilarious. It's the biggest, bulkiest, most absurd thing. This particular camera is a behemoth that takes a floppy disk. And I bought this at Goodwill for like $5–10 because it has so many settings, and it was so expensive when it came out, but you can only take like 8 photos at a time. And 5 seconds of video. So in today's world, that's complete garbage. And then they moved on to better cameras. This one I bought from Goodwill as well. It's a Canon PowerShot G3, which is funny because that Panasonic is actually a Lumix G3. But it was one of the earliest ones with the flip around lens camera, and I bought it. I bought extra batteries and still can't get it to work. But this one right here, this is kind of the epitome of the modern camcorder. This is a little Panasonic full HD camcorder, AVC HD. It's an HDC SD10, and I open it up and it says that the card door is open when it's not, and so I had to get rid of this. Now I show you this because this is the exact camera basically that I have, that I'm using to record this. I bought this at Goodwill about a month ago. It's a Sony HDC, what is it, HD7 or some shit. It doesn't matter. It's a small camcorder that cost $1,000 when it came out. It was about $900, and I got it for $50 at Goodwill. Bought a new battery for it and got it working. And the reason I don't use it is because it doesn't have the same feel, and this one I understand all the settings on. Well, here's where it gets fun, because I've been kind of rambling on about different cameras, but you know, here's the old body from it, and you know, I bought the same body because it was such an awesome camera and it's done me so well, but I also understand the settings. But this lens is detachable, which means that I could use this lens, right? It's a Soligor 1 to 2.8 35mm lens, but of course it won't fit. And that's why I said I have these adapters. So this adapter is designed for minolta lenses. It allows me to fit either this one. The only difference is that you have to do manual focus, and I'll get into that in a minute. But it's beautiful because it makes you slow down and actually care about your pictures. So I can also put that adapter on this one, the Soligor, but I don't use it. I use this one, the Rokkor lens, because it just looks good. I like the look of it, and there's one other bonus. The threads are different on this one than they are on the Soligor, and those threads allow me to put this on there, which is this is my wide angle lens. The wide angle lens, when it's added on, accommodates for the fact that it's a very narrow field of view. Because the lens is held further away from the camera by the adapter, it means that it focuses up closer to the person. So when I'm making a YouTube video or something using this lens, I use the wide angle, which makes my face appear closer. Now, I can only tell you, people might not know which videos I've done using that, but some people in the past have commented, "Holy crap, are you using a new camera?" And no, I'm not. This is the lens that I was using for that. And you can get these on YouTube, or Facebook. Craigslist. Oh my god, the internet has just warped my mind. Craigslist for about, $30 maybe, $20. In fact, I just looked on there earlier here and I saw 2 Minolta cameras with a telephoto lens, just like this, as well as 2 other lenses and an adapter for 60 bucks. So this piece right here you can probably get for maybe 30 bucks up to 100 bucks depending, and it'll probably get more expensive as people start retrofitting their cameras. This is a 200mm telephoto lens, but this one is a Vivitar, so I don't have the adapter for it yet. This same lens for my camera would cost me $600. And you know, I'm not a rich photographer. I don't have the money to do that. You know, that would be great if I would, you know, had millions of dollars and I could just go out and buy all the camera equipment I want, but I can't. So what I really wanted to get across is that, you know, this phenomenal camera, I love it. This lens on here, the only disadvantage to this manual lens is that you have to change the aperture, which is, you know, the brightness, and I just crank the aperture open all the way most of the time, and then you have to manually focus. But on these digital cameras there's a basically a they're all different, but they all have a setting where you can blow the picture up, and it really helps you to focus by seeing that blown up version of the picture, and you can choose whether you want the center of the frame blown up to the point where you can really focus in as well as possible. But you've got to love that nostalgia. You have to love the graininess of it. You have to love photography for what it is. And I'm not a photographer, but there's no way in hell that I wouldn't feel like I'm a photographer. You know what I mean? There are people who kind of have this pious attitude, like, well, I took classes in photography. I'm like, well, I've gone out and taken pictures. I've been taking a lot of pictures. So I'm no pro, but at the end of this video I'll post some of the pictures I've taken with these lenses if I can track them down. And one other bonus is that, you know, that adapter will fit things like this, and this is a minolta ring that fits on my telescope. And I have a whole box of telescope lenses here where, you know, I can just hook this camera directly onto my telescope and take pictures of the moon, or, you know, the fake moon, or the fake planets, whatever you might choose to believe. So I keep them all in these vape boxes because that's where they fit best, and I try to take care of my camera stuff because I'm not a snobby camera guy who spends thousands on my shit. I got this camera, the original one I got, well, this one was $125 to replace the other one. When the camera came out, it was $700. A year or two later, I found some guy on Craigslist that had one, and I said, I ended up trading him and his wife 2 ounces for it of cannabis. I was going to give him 1 ounce, but they had kids and they seemed like really nice people, and I was like, I'll just give you 2 ounces because I was growing it at the time. And so, you know, whatever, $400 or $500 I paid for it, street value, but it didn't matter. And it's a phenomenal camera, and it works for me. So, you know, of course I'd love to have thousands of dollars worth of cameras, and of course if any camera companies are out there watching, hey, feel free to send me a camera to review. But in the meantime, I'm going to stick to what I can afford. And one of the beautiful things about these is that it has a flip around lens, and when I turn it on, bink, actually it was in sleep mode, but yeah, it's got a oh, that's weird, it's being strange, but yeah, whoa, why is it doing that? Now it's being strange. Anyhow, having a detachable lens is a phenomenal thing. Tink, there you go. Take a picture of yourself. One beautiful thing that I did see that I'd like to add on here. There is an adapter. Can't remember the name of it, but it fits on between, it's basically a kind of a universal adapter between your 4/3 camera. It only works for Sony, I believe, and other lenses, but it has also in it an autofocus feature. It autofocuses for you and connects with your camera with that interface. That is pretty amazing. So it basically turns the lens the way you need it. I'm sure I think it was $250, way more expensive than the average person would want to spend. But one of the coolest things I did see is these adapters have an actual tripod hole on this part instead of on the camera. So when you set it on the tripod, it's not a huge strain on the camera where you're pulling down from the lenses. So the last thing I have here is my my timer, which is really simple. You can buy these on, you know, anywhere, but it's like, I think I got this for like 20 bucks on the line. It plugs into you know, if you've got the right camera, then it's kind of like, looks like a small 3.5mm jack. You plug it into your camera and it allows you to do any type of time lapse or slow shutter speed, so you can take it over a long period of time. And a lot of cameras have that built in, but mine didn't. But that's one of the beauties of having vintage lenses on a modern camera. If you can take phenomenal pictures, you know, using a vintage camera without having to, or I should say vintage lenses, without having to deal with film, then, you know, you're one up. I loved film for a while. I tried to use it, and it's great. In fact, I have a folder full of these pictures I took with my old Minolta. They were some of the best pictures I've ever seen in my life. And still to this day, I'm like, wow, that was a great trip. And I did them all in monochrome. Black and white is a great way to shoot, but I can't afford the cost it takes to take it in and have them developed, and I can't afford the dark room. You know, we take too many pictures, so we have to at least make the best we can with the cameras we do have. So, yeah, it's funny I'm making this video. I'm like, why am I wasting my time? I don't talk about this stuff, so it's not like I'm going to get a lot of views on it. I just want to get it out for anybody in the future, in the next few years, who might come across this video and be like, man, I want to convert my camera and utilize it better. Because honestly, these lenses are going to become more expensive, I'm telling you right now. Old Minolta lenses, Rocore lenses, Soligor lenses, several others, they're all going to get expensive because DSLR users have found that they can use them with their cameras too. Some people have reported that, oh, you can't use them with mirrored cameras, but you can. It just depends on the camera and the focal point. The problem is that with mirrored cameras, some of the lenses won't work because of the distance of the adapter from the body. And that means that by the time the image gets to the sensor, you don't get much of a picture at all. And so mirrorless cameras like this one, it goes directly onto the surface, so there's no issue with it. I ain't no camera pro. That's the perfect way to say it. I ain't no camera pro. I'm just a guy who's got a shitload of fucking cameras. Pardon my language. I love taking pictures, I love making videos, and so I'm sharing what I know in my life and what I've experienced. And I think these vintage lenses are something awesome to add to the arsenal. It doesn't fill the whole... The field is filled. You know, you have to back... Let's just put it this way. I like to put it in layman terms. You have to back off the subject much more to get the picture. You know, because you have a much closer focal point. So you have to back off a little bit. You have to take the time to really focus and put your energy into it. But those pictures you get, some of them may be a little blurry, but the ones you get that are good will be really good. I guarantee it. So if you've got a mirrorless camera, at least try it. I'll talk to y'all later. Be well, and don't be afraid to leave a question, and I'll answer it. Thanks for coming to Carbo's channel, yo.